Hi everyone, my name is Gulliver Gumede. I am 33 years old. Grew up in Panton. Currently work for Spa Group. I do IT for Spa. I am also a recovering addict. I was an addict for 15 years and I have been clean for 2 years. Yeah, I think when I was younger, I went through quite a bit of traumatic experiences. As I grew up, I didn't really have a father figure or a mother figure, so that kind of contributed to me wanting to numb my pain, if I could say. And it led me to a really, really deep and dark place, which is addiction. I started using when I was about 12 years old. I kind of didn't have many people to look up to, so I just had a group of friends who were doing things, and I kind of joined into that to kind of deteriorate from what I was feeling actually inside. I was always the party person, always wanting to entertain, always being that person, worrying about how other people felt and not really caring about how I felt. And that went on for many, many years. I always knew that I needed kind of help, but I kind of ignored that and continued until I reached a really, really dark place. So referring to the dark place, I think was I did something terrible and I ended up being in a prison cell, and I think it was a really, really lonely place. I think being the person that I was and being entertaining and having so many friends, when you're in those really dark moments, you realize that you're basically by yourself in life, and I think that was a really, really hard pill for me to swallow, knowing that no one was coming to my rescue and no one's coming to help me, or no one was really there for me. I came to a point where I understood that if I continued doing what I was doing in my life, it was either going to be a jail institution or I was going to die. And to be very honest with you, dying didn't seem like a bad option at that moment, because even coming out, knowing that if I did come out, like, what would my life be? Who's going to be there? I think those were the tough questions that I had to ask myself. And was I still going to feel as lonely as I did before? And what led me up to this moment? And so just those emotions and those feelings of feeling alone was really, really deep. And understanding that as hard as it is, that my family was never there, no one came to come visit me, no one checked up on me. So it's those moments of feeling alone and in a position where you have nothing else to live for besides wanting to die, just so then the pain can end. And I think that was a really, really tough space for me to be in. That was really, really sad. And in those 5 days that I was sitting there, I cried a lot. I reflected a lot on my life. I reflected on the decisions that I made, where I was going, where I was heading. And I think that's the moment when I let God back into my life. And God had been a part of my life from when I was a kid. I used to go to youth, used to go to Sunday school and things like that. And I think as I grew older, I kind of detached from that. And when I was sitting in that prison cell, I think it was vastly important for me to be reminded that God is my savior, and God is somebody who can help me, and I couldn't do it by myself. And I think that's when I kind of surrendered and understood that He was the only person who could get me out of the situation that I was in. And it was hard. It was really, really hard. And I think that what changed for me was when I did pray to God. I think I had so many memories about my childhood and how happy I was with my guardian. Just to give some context, we were an adopted family, so she was there for me through everything. And I just went through those moments of how much she cared for me and how much she loved me. And I think that for me, I wanted to prove to myself and prove to her as well that I'm the person that she believed I was, and that I could amount to something in my life. That's what gave me the motivation to change my life. Yeah, I think when I surrendered to Him, it was a moment of relief and peace. I think I felt mostly. And in that moment, I just felt like everything was going to be okay. And as hard as it was to kind of forward look and think that, I felt it. And I think that was the most important thing. I didn't have the weight on my shoulder anymore. I didn't have the anger. I didn't have the resentment. I didn't have the feeling alone feelings. I just felt like everything was going to be okay if I did the right things. And if I believed in Him and put my faith in Him. So that's exactly what I did. The next step for me was to find a place to get help. So lucky enough, I was part of a recovery group, and I knew some really great people. And when I came out of prison, was either going back to my mom's place or coming to this recovery house. And I couldn't go back to my mom's place because I don't think that was going to be very beneficial for me. Mine and my mom's relationship was very, very tricky, and a lot of the trauma that I faced as a kid is a result of my mom, and the pain that I feel and resentment and a whole lot of other things that I've kind of had to work through in my life. I decided to come to the recovery house, and lucky enough I was welcomed with open arms, and I think from that moment it was realization that God was listening to my prayer in those prison cells, because they welcomed me with open arms, and they let me stay, and I didn't have much. I just had the clothes on the back of my back and like a couple plastic bags. I was still welcomed and told not to worry about a lot, so just to try to focus on my recovery and getting better. And that's what I was able to do. And I'm so thankful that they gave me that opportunity to do that, because I think I've grown in leaps and bounds in my spiritual journey, as well as just as a normal human being. And just that growth has been so amazing. And I think that God has played a really, really vital role in me being able to do that. I think in the whole situation with regards to that is I immersed myself in good company and good community with good people around me. At church, I started serving. I was a youth leader. There were many aspects of that I took on, and I think that me immersing myself in church and in God, it really transformed who I am and how I felt about myself. And looked a lot deeper within myself to see who the real Gulliver is. And I mean, I'm still got my faults, and I'm not perfect, but with God, like, everything just feels a lot lighter. No matter what I go through in my life, a lot of things are easier to deal with, and knowing that He's by my side and that He will never leave me. I did feel the need to make right with God. I think that I had led so astray from Him from, I'd say, the age of 10, maybe 9, 10. I felt like God was mad at me in a sense, and I didn't really know how to rekindle that relationship with Him. All I knew was that I needed Him, and I knew that He would forgive me if I kind of surrendered and repented for my sins. And so I think that I did feel like He was annoyed with me and He was angry with me. No matter how far I strayed, He would always welcome me with open arms. And I think that's the magical part of being a Christian and believing in Jesus Christ, is that He will always be there. No matter how far we drift away, He will always be there when you really, really need Him. So now me living my life is just living honestly, living truthfully, trying to do the best I can, being kind, being honest. Just trying to live it by example of what Jesus did, and to the best of my ability, because we're not all perfect. All of us have different journeys, and all of us find God in our own way, and no one can force you to do it. Nobody can tell you when to do it. I think that's a moment between you and God, but I would just want to encourage people that whatever you're going through in your life, and no matter how difficult things are in your life, you got to understand and know that Jesus Christ is there for you, and He will always be there for you. And no matter how much wrong you've done or how horrible you feel, He will forgive you, and He's there to save you from anything that you are going through in your life, and He will always be there. And I think just that, like, if you can focus on that aspect of life and surrendering that to Him, then that's my encouragement, to just surrender those aspects or those difficult times of your life to Him, and you'll definitely see the change. It might not be after a day, it might not be after a week. I don't know, Jesus works in His own time, but for me, I felt it instantly after I said that prayer. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Jesus, is that He does it in His own time, but you will definitely know in that moment when things change. And I just encourage you to believe and to have faith and to trust in Him. And then life will definitely get a lot better.